This episode is brought to you by the Boot Chow Radio Podcast, episode 22. If you haven't listened to it yet, please click on the link on the description box below this video. And now let's go to one of the biggest changes in the entire Monkey Island series, the escape from Monkey Island. Believe it or not, this is my very first Monkey Island game. I remember back in middle school where I remember there was a bunch of nerds that were playing this weird but pretty interesting game, and then I instantly got hooked into this very game that they were playing on the PC. Escape from Monkey Island is when they finally transition from pixelated visual look style to 2D animated hand-drawn animation to finally 3D look of the game. This is where the Monkey Island series took the same engine from Grim Fandango, which is called Grim E. I love Grim Fandango with a great passion, and I love this game as well.
Yeah, I was very excited back when it first came out because I had just played all the three first games on the Monkey Island Bounty Pack, and I was sort of excited to see where the franchise was going to go from there. And I really didn't know what to expect because my experience from video games that were previously in 2D going to 3D were kind of limited at that point to Super Mario 64 and Donkey Kong 64. But based on the back of that, I was expecting it to be great. I do have to admit that I was a little let down by the game initially, but my opinion of it has improved over time greatly.
I have to say that this is a homage to the fans of the original The Secret of Monkey Island, the first one. Because, after a long adventure from going to Monkey Island to Blood Island and finding the big whoop, finally, Guybrush and Elaine finally reached to Melee Island, and Melee Island never looked better at that point of time. In this game, Guybrush Threepwood and Elaine finally married, and they just came back to Melee Island from their honeymoon. And it would have been a much better way if they showed the rest of their honeymoon and what they actually did, but I...
You pervert. Oh.
This is a direct sequel of Curse of Monkey Island where everything that happened in that situation just went right back to Melee Island, and Melee Island is at risk because during Elaine's absence, they were without a governor, so there's not that many pirates visiting Melee Island as they used to. There's a bulldozer guy who's using a catapult trying to take down the governor's mansion, but fails to.
Election, yeah. Elaine's been declared dead. All kinds of great shit.
It feels like what would life be like after you have the most epic adventure of a lifetime? You don't really expect it to be better than that.
Yes, that was one of my major concerns as well when it came out, because Curse of Monkey Island was such, it was probably one of in my mind, the greatest game that I had played up to that point. And so coming from that, it was kind of hard to see it getting better. But at the same time, I was kind of expecting something new and different, and I certainly wasn't expecting an Australian land developer as a villain for this game. That was definitely an interesting take. This game was actually made by we didn't mention it in Curse of Monkey Island. They had a different creative crew for that. And this game was made by the people who previously worked on Sam & Max Hit the Road. So in one way, Monkey Island was in good hands in that they definitely had writers with a sort of comedic touch. But then perhaps that shines, what tends to cause a lot of criticism from fans is that they perhaps were not the best storytellers.
Yeah, okay, but... However, I really did like how they further the relationship between Guybrush and Elaine, and not to mention they brought back some, my favorite characters from Secret of Monkey Island, because like I said, this is a giant fan service to the original Secret of Monkey Island game, where they brought back Carla and Otis as Guybrush's crew in this installment of the series, and they're not happy to see him because he left them in Monkey Island.
Yeah, it's interesting like how much God, in my view, referenced back to the prior games, and at one time I even considered that a bit of a weakness, but then again, the appeal of revisiting something, because Monkey Island games, apart from Monkey Island itself, that's the only location that's ever really revisited in any of the games. So for them to go back to Melee Island was definitely an interesting idea, but I think some of the backlash that this game got from Monkey Island fans was also directed at, once again, the changing of the mood within the game, Jambalaya Island specifically, because I think a lot of people felt that that angle of where tourism is threatening the life of piracy. Some people found that perhaps a little unbelievable or a little cheesy, over the top, but then you do have to wonder about Ozzy Mandrill, who is the main villain here. He is actually he's a ruthless evil bastard, to be honest.
And I especially like, spoiler alert, how they bring back LeChuck in the most surprising manner. Like, Charles L. Charles is actually, LeChuck the whole entire time. Oh my god!
Are you kidding? That was foreshadowed from the start.
Yeah,
I think is what Mr. Cheese said in the game.
But like Grim Fandango, Escape from Monkey Island is not a point-and-click adventure game. Instead, it's a keyboard interface type adventure game. I'm talking about the PC one. I'll talk about the other ports later on, but this is what many fans have gripes with, because they absolutely love the simplicity of using a mouse and just click and let the character do a certain action based on what you commanded to do. Here, there's a lot of turning for your character, and, most of the time you're holding shift just to make them run. And most of the time you're just doing most of the work. Like, for example, when you get to close to a certain object, you have a text at the bottom of the screen. You have to make a choice of which one you want to select, like press up or down or something like that, just to select what you want, which is not as simple as, using the mouse for point and clicking.
You know what? I think the criticism is completely nonsensical, because the game made improvements from Grim Fandango, because in Grim Fandango, whenever you found yourself facing several objects or hotspots that you could interact with, you did not have the choice of picking either one. You had to keep moving Manny back and forth in place, make eye contact with the item you wanted to interact with. So the interface lines, the ability to combine inventory items, and also even the general way they did the movement in the game, I think was the best they could have possibly done. The mouse interface would have been an easy way to go, but they were building this on the back of Grim Fandango, so obviously they couldn't do that. But compared to some other keyboard-controlled adventure games, and I'm specifically pointing out Broken Sword, The Sleeping Dragon, they did it well, in my view. I think most of the criticism is just it's just come down to the point of, I liked it better when it was a mouse-controlled game.
I totally agree with you. The criticism on the controls on Escape from Monkey Island is just based on how the Monkey Island fans feel about the nostalgia factor of the need of having a point and click, while they fail to realize that it's a basic improvement over Grim Fandango's controls. And to see that there are actually people out there that actually hate this kind of control system, I would really hate to see them play a survival horror game. And for a very long time, many people criticized those controls in those games, which is the reason why Resident Evil 4 is no longer scary when they fixed the controls and made it much more action-oriented. But I can't believe we almost forgot to talk about this. What do you think about Monkey Combat?
Yeah, Monkey Combat is a bit of a painful topic for some people. But yeah, the basic, what it comes down to was that they wanted to have something like insult sword fighting in this game, but they did not want to make it insult sword fighting per se.
But in the beginning of the game, they only gave out insult arm wrestling.
Yes.
And that's pretty weird. I mean, like, how are you going to feel, how are you going to get owned and lose? Because, usually when I get owned, I get stronger.
I personally like the insult arm wrestling, actually, because they do bring back some of the old insults and a couple of really funny new ones. But back on Monkey Combat, it was something that people felt was time-consuming and annoying that you had to... It was the first time in a Monkey Island game, really, where you were required to get a pen and a piece of paper and write down all the oops and ahs and eeks and the positions between the 5 different fighting positions, and their dominance over each other. And to top it off, it's a puzzle that's randomized every time you play. So a lot of people got really pissed about that. But in my view, it depends on the mentality that you go into it. Some people, some fans were nice enough, for instance, to come up with this convenient chart that you could use for that monkey combat sequence.
Not to mention to see that Guybrush Threepwood is doing Hadokens.
Yes, I think people completely, in their annoyance with the game mechanics, they completely forgot the entertainment value of it, or all the inside references that were put into it, because that's what I found most amusing about that whole thing, where all the fighting game reference, obviously, and even the little Michael Jackson action that goes on when you win a fight.
Yeah, it's, a pain in the ass just to go through monkey combats. However, at least the designers put some thought in giving us a combat system, unlike Monkey Island 2, where there was just basically no combat, or any insult sword fighting for that matter. But however, I'm surprised that the console port on, the PlayStation 2 port on Escape from Monkey Island is actually superior over the PC version. Especially with the load times, the save system, even though the PlayStation 2 uses the memory card. It's not like you press left or right to turn around and up and down like survival horror games. Instead, you use an analog stick and, you have complete and full control over Guybrush Threepwood. And it totally changes the experience, and it feels like that Escape from Monkey Island should have been on console rather than on PC, in my personal opinion.
Yeah, but then again, most of the previous Monkey Island games came out on home computers. I think people would have had a problem with that. But another thing I want to get on the topic of graphics. Like, there's a lot of people that complain about the graphics in the game, and
come on, the visuals were beautiful, man. It just drastically made the world of Monkey Island much more appealing. I'll say it once and I'll say it again. Fuck graphic whores.
Yes, I don't think people realize, first of all, that it was built upon a game engine that was probably like 4 years old at this point. That considered, the lighting effects, the overall look, and the backgrounds and everything, they put a lot of care into that game. Obviously, some bugs went through. But by the standard that we're kind of looking at, which is the 3D games of the late 90s, Escape from Monkey Island looked fantastic.
Definitely.
And especially something which I don't think people stress enough is actually this game has probably some of the best cinematics in the whole series.
Totally.
They look excellent. If Escape from Monkey Island has any weaknesses, in my view, they are story-related and a few awkward puzzles in the game. All the other areas, pretty good. Musically, they recycled a lot of music from Curse of Monkey Island, which I didn't really approve of. But it's not bad.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we covered everything that needs to be said about Escape from Monkey Island without getting too much into spoilers. My overall score for Escape from Monkey Island is a 5 fingers out of 5. To me, I think that it's much more better to play this game on the PlayStation 2 than on the PC. But overall, Escape from Monkey Island is much better than what everybody claims it to be. Minus the monkey combat, but I just love the puzzles, how much it really pays a homage to Secrets of Monkey Island, and how much more beautiful the world of Monkey Island is in this installment of the series. And let me get on a rant here. Even though I love Grim Fandango to death, but I seriously find it ironic that there are a lot of people out there that says Escape from Monkey Island is a bad game because of its controls, and they all say Grim Fandango is a masterpiece, but it also has similar controls.
My score for this game is 3 fingers out of 5, because in my view, in all general areas, especially comedy, I think this game excelled. And it does have weaknesses. It's not quite as strong as Curse of Monkey Island, or even necessarily The Secret of Monkey Island, but I think still a worthwhile game.
And now, our final game of the Monkey Island series, and our review on the Monkey Island series, is Tales of Monkey Island. It has been a total of 9 long years without a Monkey Island game. And this was the time when LucasArts totally forgotten gave up on adventure games anymore because, the last installment of the series, Escape of Monkey Island, was just a disappointment for some. Their Star Wars games were selling crazy compared to their adventure games in the past. Since LucasArts is no longer focusing on adventure games no more and focusing on Star Wars games more often, Telltale Games took, LucasArts' duty of making adventure games like in the old days, and thank God, the Monkey Island games has, made a comeback with Tales of Monkey Island.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, the main story development crew on this one, they actually asked Ron Gilbert to give his personal opinion and I guess approval for the sort of story setup for Tales of Monkey Island. One of the original writers from both Secret of Monkey Island and Monkey Island 2, Dave Grossman, was heavily involved, but so was actually one of the writers of Escape from Monkey Island. Mike Stemley actually came aboard for this project.
So what can we say about Tales of Monkey Island? Well, since this is the first game in a long time, and Telltale Games has been really focusing on returning the point and click adventure gameplay. And Monkey Island, Tales of Monkey Island, returned to that old gameplay style of point-and-click adventure. The downer of this game for me would probably be that this game was released episodically. There's not really a hard disk that I can find anywhere. It's basically downloadable.
Yes, and there's a lot of debate amongst adventure gamers now whether or not this episodic format is actually ideal for these games. But I think that debate. But as far as Tales is concerned, I think Telltale did a fantastic job on it. Personally, I think it's absolutely a worthy successor to the series. And having to wait for individual episodes, yeah, it's a bit of a downer, but you have to understand what you're getting into. I mean, your options are you play each episode, there's a month between every single individual part of the game, or you wait for the whole game to come out and then you buy it.
So this game opens up when Guybrush Threepwood is trying to save Elaine from being kidnapped from LeChuck once again.
I do think that the opening is interesting because the game opens on what kind of looks like the ending of some long adventure, but then it gets turned around completely and you end up with a completely new, different adventure with some pretty new, interesting plot writing. Like, this is something that I have to really applaud Tales of Monkey Island for, because there are some really interesting surprises and twists in Tales of Monkey Island.
Well, as we said, this game was released episodically, and there's a total of 5 episodes. The first episode is the launch of the Screaming Narwhal. Sorry. And second episode is the
Siege of Spinner K.
And the third episode?
The third episode is called The Lair of the Leviathan. The fourth one, The Trial and Execution of Guybrush Threepwood. Chapter number 5 is called The Rise of the Pirate God.
And all those episodes are self-explanatory.
Pretty much. Except for the Screaming Narwhal. You already found out what that was. Telltale made a lot of effort in each of the episodes to really just have a really great variety of puzzles. I think the Siege of Spinner K is probably the weakest puzzle design-wise, but you also get the feeling that it is just a transitional chapter to get the story really to kick off, and it really kind of kicks off, in my view, by the third part. There's a lot of great characters, a lot of interesting character backstory. They kind of weave the story a little bit more precisely, but then they take time to kind of give you a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome. Yeah, the overall, like I said, it's a worthy successor. I think a very impressive game. But in having said that, there is room for improvement. And as a Wii owner, of course, my major gripe and complaint with the game
same here.
are the bugs. Yeah.
All right, let me say that as a Wii owner, this is a big downloadable for me. I just love the fact that you finally can use the Wii Remote in good use for a point-and-click adventure game. However, the bugs in this game is horrendously bad.
And it doesn't help. It's even more annoying that due to file constraints that the game gets crunched down a little. I mean, the voice acting is not that badly affected, but the music definitely doesn't get to stand out as well as it should. As for controls, yeah, the controls are pretty good, but I think Telltale has yet to have learned to kind of get the inventory item combination thing to work in their favor. But I like the idea that you can play the game either with the nunchuck or without it. With it, it's easier to kind of walk around, but you have the option of taking it off and all that. But yeah, I definitely wish that they would come out with a hardcover version. I've been hoping for a hard copy version of this game for a long while for the Wii, because it begs to have the full capacity of the Wii system being used and not being crunched down to that, you know, the file size that they require for the Wii store. Also on the music front, I didn't find this game's soundtrack to be as memorable as the previous games. There are a few kind of really good themes here and there, but I'm not sure if Michael Land, they did get Michael Land back to do the music again, but I'm not sure if he's losing his touch or whether the fact that he didn't have as much time or the resources he used to have at LucasArts to work on the soundtrack have affected it. Anyway, that's one aspect that I wish they would have paid more attention to. But as far as story variety, location variety, puzzle variety, all of these things, and the story, wow, you know, it's actually a really good game. It just has a few really unsightly bugs with it.
So overall, what's your rating on, Tales of Monkey Island?
My rating for it, absolutely 4 fingers out of 5. It's easily one of the most impressive titles to have come out of the franchise, and in my view, it leaves Escape and Monkey Island 2 to shame on all the on what it sort of innovated story-wise in the Monkey Island series. It's the first really truly serious story in the Monkey Island series since Curse, and I don't think any other Monkey Island game really even comes close to it, but it's still very strong.
Yeah, I have to agree with you. This game, to me, deserves a 4 fingers out of 5. Mainly because, like you said, the story is just as epic as Curse of Monkey Island, which I never thought that would be possible because it was the best game of the series. They brought in the classic voice actors that we all know and love. Yeah, other than that, we can't get into much detail since this is a new game, so other than that, I think this wraps up our, review of, the Monkey Island series. Name your favorite Monkey Island games from worst to best.
Oh, are you talking to me?
Yeah, of course.
At the very end, Monkey Island 2, LeChuck's Revenge. 4th best, Escape from Monkey Island. 3rd best, Tales of Monkey Island. 2nd best, The Secret of Monkey Island. The Curse of Monkey Island, best. But you should know that because I did a whole top 5 video on that.
And for me, from worst to best, of course, Monkey Island 2, then Tales of Monkey Island, then The Escape from Monkey Island, second of all, The Secret of Monkey Island, and my favorite Monkey Island game of the series, The Curse of Monkey Island. So that wraps up our review. Everybody, I hope you enjoyed our cult review. It's not exactly a review, it's like an over-review with me and Hanu just basically talking, but other than that, Monkey Island, it's the one adventure series that will never die. It will keep going, it will keep making us laugh, it will keep us entertained, and it will keep us anticipated for more of the world created by LucasArts.
Sometimes, when it's quiet, I can still hear the monkeys.
All right, everybody, be sure to take a look at Hanu the Hun Makinen's channel. I really do love his work. There's a good reason why he's one of my favorite YouTubers ever, because he always give out one of the most entertaining videos that you can ever find on any channel. And overall, thank you, Hanu the Hun Makinen, for joining with me. I'll see you all next time.
Oh.